Episode 1. The Enduro. The season kicks off with John B summarizing what happened to them after they found the gold city of El Dorado. They managed to bring back a 20-pound sack of gold that was worth $1.2 million, and they put all the earnings into a joint account for them to share. They had an opportunity to bring back generational wealth, and they only managed to bring back $1 million worth. Somebody make it make sense. Pope suggests they invest all the money into land and properties. The first thing they want to buy is JJ's house back that is being put up for auction and then turn it into a bait and tackle shop. They go to the auction and a few men there try outbidding JJ, and he starts getting emotional and overpays way above market value, and he ends up paying $750,000 when the property was only worth $100,000. The other Pogues aren't happy that he did this to them, but since it's done, they decide to turn it into a bait and tackle charter shop as planned. They are then hit with a $13,000 tax bill and have to come up with the money to pay it while keeping their business afloat. JJ makes another reckless decision and bets their last golden nugget on him in a dirt bike race called the Enduro, hoping to earn the money to pay off their bill. John B joins the race too in hopes of helping JJ win, but during the race, JJ gets in a wreck after Rafe sabotaged his own chances to win. After the race, Rafe accuses John B and Sarah for killing Ward, and he will do everything he can to end them. The local newspaper writes about the Pogues being legends in town for discovering the gold, and this leads to an invitation by Wes Jenrette to locate Blackbeard, as we saw at the end of Season 3. Episode 2. Blackbeard. The Pogues go visit Chandler Groff and Wes, who tell them all about the famous Blackbeard, and he wants them to retrieve an amulet that was on his last ship, the Adventure, and he needs it to lift a 300-year-old family curse, and he will pay them $50,000 if they are successful. Meanwhile, Leitner, our antagonist, shows up at a pirate museum, and he learns the location of Blackbeard's treasure as well, so it will be a race to who gets there first. Elsewhere, Rafe is also approached by Hollis Robinson, a developer, who wants to partner with Rafe to develop properties on Goat Island, which is near where Blackbeard's ship went down. Goat Island is believed to be haunted, but she says they can make bank if they build on it, but needs Rafe's money to get it done. The Pogues are told that the zoning of their land has changed and they need more money to keep their business open, so they decide they want to take Groff up on his offer and find Blackbeard's amulet. They head to Goat Island, but find a dead body on the beach with a strange sigil on their wrist. Kiera and JJ then dive down for Blackbeard's ship, but then a strange fog envelopes their boat, and a rival group shows up as well. Leitner attacks JJ, but JJ and Kiera are able to flee before they can be hurt. When they get to land, JJ shows the others that he got the amulet, but he needs to recover with an oxygen tank after what just happened. Pope goes to hand the amulet over for the money, but is shocked when he finds Wes dead and Chandler alive. Shoop sees the Pogues and thinks they might be responsible for Wes's death. Episode 3. The Lupine Corsairs. The Pogues tell Shoop how Wes hired them to find the amulet, and that was their only relationship. Chandler sees the Pogues and tries doing the deal with them, but they are sketched out by the situation now and decide to keep the amulet, fearing Chandler is dangerous. When they clean it, they find Arabic writing inside. They get the message decoded, and it is a riddle from Blackbeard to Elizabeth, but then the translator thinks the amulet is cursed and orders them to leave. Leitner is recovering from his injuries after JJ stabbed him with a harpoon, and he overhears them talking and realizes the Pogues have the amulet. Elsewhere, Wes's autopsy report comes back, and it says that he was killed by strangulation, so Shoop opens a homicide investigation. Pope and the others head down to downtown Pelican as they believe they will find their answers for the amulet there and why it is so sought out. What they don't know is that Leitner is following Kiera and JJ. Pope then notices him and is able to overhear Leitner talking with a woman called the Captain, and they discuss something called the Blue Crown. Luckily, Pope is able to get Kiera and JJ's attention, and they are able to get away before Leitner can get a hold of any of them. Meanwhile, Rafe and Topper discuss how zoning changes are affecting the Pogues, and Sophia, Rafe's girlfriend, overhears them talking shit on her. Sophia then goes to Hollis and tells her that Rafe will partner with her for even cheaper behind his back. Shoop brings Chandler in for questioning in terms of Wes's death. Sarah begins researching the Elizabeth chick and learns that the blue-brown is another highly sought-after artifact and was worn by Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great. Sarah believes the amulet might reveal the location of this object. The episode ends with Cleo kidnapped by Leitner, and she comes face to face with Captain Terrence. Episode 4. The Swell. Terrence is working with Lightner because he wants the payday from Lightner if they find the blue crown. They try getting Cleo to reveal the location of the amulet, but Cleo refuses to talk. When Lightner isn't around, Terrence whispers to Cleo that he is on her side and that she needs to trust him like old times. A little later, Lightner is questioning Cleo again and starts choking her, but then Terrence comes to the rescue and saves her. Cleo reveals to Terrence they have the amulet. At the beach, Topper is still trying to antagonize John B., and it's clear he's still bitter about John B. taking Sarah from him. Pope is off researching more, and he finds a clue involving a half-moon, and he links the half-moon battery in Charleston after visiting a pirate museum. At the police station, Shoop is questioning Groff, who says Wes believed in the supernatural, and he believes that is how he was killed. Groff also states he was nowhere near Wes at the time of death as he has an alibi, and this leads Shoop into suspecting the Pogues once again. Back to Cleo, who calls Pope and begs her to bring the amulet to save her life, and of course Pope rushes to help his girl while the other Pogues are off surfing with Topper being a tool to them. Kiera wants to hurt him, but JJ tells her he isn't worth the trouble. He does threaten Topper if he doesn't stop, and Topper recorded the entire interaction. Pope arrives to save Cleo, but is met by Lightner, who shoots Terrence and steals the amulet. When the others return, they are shocked that they don't have the amulet and why Pope has blood on his hands. Of course, Shoop shows up right on cue. Episode 5. Albatross. John B. hides Terrence's body while JJ distracts Shoop outside and the others clean up the crime scene. Shoop asks JJ where they were on Saturday at the time of Wes's death, and he claims they were out fishing. Shoop doesn't have any evidence that they did anything, but he tells JJ he's going to be keeping a close eye on them. Elsewhere, Rafe decides to take Hollis up on her offer to go into real estate development on Goat Island. The Pogues dump Terrence's body in the ocean and then head down to Charleston to find a clue to the Blue Crown. JJ receives a mysterious letter from Wes and then leaves before anyone could notice he is gone, but left a note that said, "Running an errand." He heads out to ask his father if he can decipher Wes's letter, which mentions something called an albatross. John B., Sarah, Pope, and Cleo arrive in Charleston, and they discover clues in a church that leads them to the North Star and a crypt beneath the altar. Sarah and Pope explore the crypt, but become trapped inside a hidden chamber. Outside the church, John B. finds a gravestone with his last name, which brings back tons of memories of his father. John B. notices Lightner and someone else using the amulet to access one of the catacombs. Inside, Lightner and his captain uncover a scroll inside a coffin that seems to be a key to Blackbeard's treasure. They lock the coffin behind them, which traps Pope and Sarah inside, as both exits are closed. The water level inside starts rising, and outside Cleo has confronted Lightner, and they start fighting, but John B. tells her to let them go. They need to help Sarah and Pope. Back on the mainland, JJ and his father climb a lighthouse, and Luke tells JJ that Albatross is the name of the boat that JJ's mother died on. Luke then reveals that he isn't JJ's real father, Chandler Groff is, making JJ the true heir to Goat Island, and we learn Groff has been working with Hollis this whole time. Episode 6. The Town Council. JJ is shocked to learn his true parentage and how Groff left him in the care of Luke because he didn't want to raise him as his mother died soon after giving birth. Luke was Groff's gardener at the time and paid him to raise JJ. JJ runs home in shock and shares the story with Kiera. JJ is convinced that this is just another scam his father is running, but Kiera thinks it might be the truth. Meanwhile, at the graveyard, John B. and Cleo are able to save Pope and Sarah at the last possible second before they drowned. The Pogues all meet a little later, and they discuss what to do about their zoning issues as they have no money to pay off their bills. They realize they need legal help or else they could lose their home and business. Sarah goes to visit Rafe to see if he can help out with their predicament. Rafe doesn't want to help her because he still thinks she killed their father, but Rafe tells Sarah he believes Rose is hiding inheritance money from them. Rafe says she can make up Ward's death by helping him get that money, but Sarah says she won't do it. Elsewhere, Groff and Hollis meet to discuss what properties they are going to build on Goat Island. In Kildare, the town council is meeting to vote on the zoning requirements that deal the Pogues bait shop, and John B. shows up to plead his case and asks them to give them an extension for their bill. Apparently, the council tells John B. that the auction where they bought the property wasn't authorized and therefore voided. JJ completely loses his mind and goes off on the town, causing mayhem. The cops show up to arrest JJ, and Pope tackles one of them and is arrested for it, but it is enough for JJ to flee the area. He gets on a boat and heads to Groff's mansion. Rafe is already there, and he signs the papers to go into business together, and Rafe tells Groff he better not be screwing him over. Episode 7. Mothers and Fathers. JJ arrives and asks Groff about the letter from Wes, and Groff admits to being his father, but couldn't raise him. Their exchange is interrupted when Leitner and Dahlia arrive. Groff hands JJ a gun, and they work to flee from Leitner's mercenaries, and they are able to escape on the Albatross. They aren't fast enough, though, and Leitner catches up and captures them both. As they are taken to Dahlia, Groff tells JJ that Leitner and his minions are all from North Africa, and he claims misunderstandings led to their vendetta, explaining the hauntings for Goat Island were made up to keep people away from it. Groff wants JJ's help to reclaim the Blue Crown and restore their family legacy. Meanwhile, the others are on a mission to find JJ, and Pope is given a choice after he was arrested. He can either face trial for assaulting a police officer, or he can join the Marines. Pope doesn't decide yet, so he goes to hang out with Cleo instead. Sarah, dealing with a pregnancy test result, confides in Kiera, and Topper continues to confront John B. about them being looters and thieves. A little later, the Pogues head to Goat Island, and they see Leitner's men patrolling the area on their boats. Inside, Dahlia speaks with Groff, and we learn that Dahlia rescued Groff from prison, but then he betrayed her and tried to have her killed. Groff then backstabs JJ and claims JJ was the one that came after her. Leitner attempts to kill them both, but John B. throws a Molotov cocktail and ends up catching their own boat on fire, but successfully hits them with a second one. The distraction allows JJ to get free, and they escape via another boat. With all the chaos happening, JJ managed to get the scroll leading to the Blue Crown, and the episode ends with Groff emerging from water, ready to exact revenge. Episode 8. Decision Day. The Pogues study a map they discovered, and then Groff appears begging for their help. JJ, despite his misgivings, agrees to assist him knowing he is his real father. Groff tells them the map they have can lead them to the Blue Crown, but it is dangerous because the Lupine Corsairs, another rival mercenary group, is after it as well. He does say they need a special lens to view the map in its entirety, and it lies within Larissa's grave, JJ's birth mother. Pope tells his father that he isn't joining the Marines, and he will face trial for assault and possibly go to jail, but that is his choice. Sarah tells John B. she is pregnant, and he is happy and says they will face this together. Meanwhile, JJ goes with Groff to find the lens in his mother's grave. Of course, once they get there, he betrays JJ and locks him in the tomb and calls the sheriff that he is JJ captured. Groff then goes to Poglandia and knocks Kiera out and locks her in a freezer. Groff then heads to Hollis's and takes her out as well. He frames JJ for her murder. The other Pogues are searching for JJ, and then Pope arrives as well and even cuts off his ankle monitor so he can't be tracked when they head down to Morocco to get the Blue Crown. JJ eventually gets free from the tomb, and he goes to confront Groff, and he accuses Groff of killing Larissa, JJ's mom, and Groff admits to it. Groff then injures JJ once again and leaves him for dead, but luckily, the Pogues arrive just in time to rescue him. John B. and Sarah stargaze together, and he promises to take care of her and their children for as long as they live, and he wants to do this last treasure hunt and then settle down for good. Sarah is hesitant, but agrees. Episode 9. The Storm. Groff calls the sheriff to go check on Hollis for him, and when the deputies arrive, they find her murdered and Groff is trying to pin it on JJ, but Shoop is starting to suspect something is off. The Pogues are trying to figure out a way to get down to Morocco, and they realize they need a bigger vessel, and Rafe overhears them talking. Rafe then trades his fancy speedboat for a deep-sea vessel at the country club, hoping to intercept them because he is running out of money and needs this treasure. Shoop catches up to JJ and Pope, and we think he is about to arrest them, but then hints that he believes Groff is the real killer behind everything going on. Rafe tells them he will take them down to Morocco on his new boat to capture Groff and bring him back to be arrested, and Shoop surprisingly agrees to it, as he wants Groff behind bars. The Pogues are wary of Rafe's true intentions, but this is really their only option at this point, so they agree. When they get on the boat, JJ knocks him out and locks him in the boat's bathroom as they head down to Morocco. On board, John B. shares the news about Sarah being pregnant, and they will have a new little Pogue running around in a year. JJ doesn't think John B. is ready to be a father, and they have a little argument over it. In Morocco, Groff has arrived, and he goes to Leitner and tells them the Pogues will be coming down soon and they can set a trap for him. As the Pogues get near Morocco, they are hit by a violent storm which causes the vessel to lose power. Sarah is swept out into the ocean and JJ dives in after her to save her. The others make their way to the coast and search everywhere for JJ and Sarah and find them alive, but very brittle. Episode 10. The Blue Crown. Season Finale. The group sets out through the desert toward Esura, aiming to track down Groff and recover the scroll. In town, they spark a police chase and it goes absolutely mayhem. Cleo is able to disguise them to evade capture, but Rafe is separated from the group. John B. and Sarah manage to sneak on Groff's boat, hoping to find the scroll, but instead, they only find pictures of it. They steal the lens and leave. Rafe is alone and he starts searching for Groff on his own, and he does find him and actually rescues him for the Lupine Corsairs and the scroll. Of course, Rafe soon betrays him and takes the scroll for himself. The Pogues eventually make their way to the same well, and they find a desperate Groff pleading for help. JJ isn't about the life and leaves his father behind. The Pogues head to Agapinta where they encounter Dahlia and her mercenaries, and the mayhem causes all of them to split up. Rafe and Sarah run into each other, and Sarah tells Rafe how Ward really died, and they share a heartfelt sibling moment before they're interrupted by some of the mercenaries' arrival. They get away and then start searching everywhere for the Blue Crown. They end up inside an ancient ruins just as a sandstorm looms, and racing against the storm, JJ scales a statue and finally retrieves the Blue Crown. Dahlia is waiting for them to come out, and when the sandstorm hits, everyone manages to escape. Kiera is confronted by a barely alive Groff, who orders them to give him the crown. JJ obliges, but then Groff stabs JJ, and he dies in Kiera's arms while Groff makes off with the crown. The Pogues lay JJ to rest and mourn the loss of one of their own. Rafe tells them he believes Groff is taking the crown to Lisbon, and Kiera wants to track him down and avenge JJ, setting the stage for the final season of Outer Banks. And that is it for Season 4. Hope you are able to check out the last season when I get it uploaded. Thanks for watching.